Welcome back to Break Time Scale Models, where today we're messing with LEDs and miniatures. Welcome back to Break Timers. Today we're going to be making a diorama with some 1/35th scale figurines from Tamyia, some little mini art signs, and well, I'm going to throw in some LEDs. This isn't going to be the all-be-all for tutorials on how to paint a figurine, but I wanted to show you what my quick down and dirty method was, and without wasting any more time, let's get started and have some fun. Alright, now we're getting quick started here. Take into consideration that I've already done a black primer onto this figurine, and then went ahead and did some highlighting with some white from Kake, and I spray that from the head directly down towards the feet. Now I'm not spraying it at the body or on the side of the body or from the bottom of the body up. I'm going right above the head and I'm making it rain. And then whenever I'm done, I have the top surfaces that it covered, and then the rest of the surfaces have these areas of darkness, which gives you your shadowing. It's something that everybody does, and to be honest with you, a lot of my techniques that I share are in line with that of Night Shift, and if you've never caught his channel, I would say go ahead and give that a try. But he has this method that he calls glazing, and that's exactly what I do as well. You can see with this figurine, since I've been talking, that I have taken a very light color of green from Vallejo, and I have washed it out on my wet palette, and then I have placed that over the top. Now I'm already getting some dark definition, some light areas because of the pre-shadowing. I'm letting that dry. I'm going back over. I'm grabbing the beige. It's called a Bage Red from Vallejo, and I use that to get my skin tone started. I've also already taken some leather brown from AK as well, and I've hit those straps. Now I'm not the most steady hand, so my method is I get the bulk of the paint down. Try to stay away from the skin tone areas because I don't want to get green on top of that and then try to paint over it. But this Beige Red from AK really allows for me to be able to recover if I get something else on it. Now I'm doing a light color of canvas followed by a leather color on the boots, and then I take a black rubber by AK and I throw that over the top of it. Now while I'm doing that, all three of those colors mix, and when I get done, you will see that I have a lovely shade of brown with some worn areas in it to make it look like, well, very authentic, worn out boots. Now I'm going back through and I'm defining those edges that I have painted. That's in regards to the browns, the belt, the khaki or canvas colors that I'm using for my gear. And I just continue to do that where if I need some more of the leather, then I put it down, we'll let it dry, and then follow back up with some of the green. I eventually went from a light green to a olive drab color from AK as well. That allowed for me to continue my process. And I did let this figurine dry in between coats before I did that. And since I had a ton of these to paint, I basically went from one portion of the model back to it, and then back to another portion while that was drying, and then back to that one again. I say this to you because, again, I am not the most steady hand, so I'm not going to sit there and be able to spend hours while I slowly put a leather belt on a figurine, okay? I'm going to get a green coat, whatever color the military uniform is. Then I'm going to roughly get as best as I possibly can those details. Then I'm going to go back with my uniform color and I'm going to sharpen those up by going around those. Shouldn't sit there and struggle the entire time and try to keep yourself from having to get anything on anywhere else in the model. Don't worry. If you get it on one side, go to the other. So I start with my smallest, work out to my largest. Again, I took the figurine off of a cork that I placed it, and if you're not familiar with that method, what we do is we take the cork and we glue the figurine to the top of the cork, and then when we're done, we just cut the figurine off of that cork and that cork gives us a place for that figurine to sit so that we can paint. Now I'm just getting underneath on this figurine in those areas. As you can see, I wanted to slow down the video so that you guys can see those boot colors, and then you can see the leather straps right above those that I'm touching up. I really like that method with the boots. There are other people who do different colors, different methods, but those three colors, the black rubber by AK, the light sand or a khaki color, and then I also do a leather color, and I put those on right after each other. I don't let any of them dry, and then I mix them together, and when it's all said and done, get this crazy brown and black mixture on the boot. I'm coming back with a little bit more of that black rubber, and I try to hit the bottom of the boots, the tips, and the soles to give it some definition, to show that there is definitely soles on the bottom of these boots, that they're not all just one big brown boot. I hope that makes sense. And then I just kind of just keep looking at the figurine, figuring out what I need to do next. Now, every time you rotate this thing and you look at a different spot, you're going to see something. You don't want to be overly critical, right? Because every single time that you paint a figurine, you're going to get better at it. On this particular one, I believe I had about 4 or 5 figurines that I had to paint, and I had to get them done today. So I was in a hurry to get those painted, so I just kind of thrown through it. But I wanted to share this video because I wanted you to see that when you're watching these other YouTubers paint these figurines, it's not that big of a deal. Don't shy away from getting figurines and adding them to your models. It really is a simple project that once you've done a few times, that you will get fairly good at it. And it doesn't take somebody with a steady hand in order to make these things look, well, decent. I'm going back and I'm just touching up on a few areas of the green. Again, I'm making these light washes. And I will go over that dark drab with some really thinned out light green colors as well. And I do that to give some definition so that's not all just one green figurine. I'm getting all those things that I couldn't see before, and well, because this figurine is going to be kneeling on the ground talking on a radio, there's no need for me to focus on getting underneath of those knees. Now, I will say that practice makes perfect, so even though they won't see it, you should always be painting it and practicing so that whenever you are doing something that people will see, you've had plenty of practice. Now, let's say we get done with this figurine and we hate it. Simply take this figurine over to your little paint booth and re-primer the entire thing and start over. Now, you're not going to be able to do that consistently with every figurine. You're going to start losing details whenever you do it. But just know that if you don't like the way that your figurine looks, well, then you can simply repaint it. Now, this particular model kit that I did get from Tamyia, every single one of these parts had to be glued onto this figurine. The belts were separate, the arms were separate, the heads were separate, the helmet, the 2 legs, and there was a front and back body that you had to put on, and then if you wanted different accessories, you could. Tamyia made this kit for that exact reason, so that you can use certain pieces of the kit, and then you can get rid of other pieces that you didn't want. So say you wanted to have all the belts and straps and all of the stuff on one of your figurines, but then you had another one that's just going to be sitting on the ground talking on the radio. You not want to put a backpack and a shovel and all that stuff on top of this guy. You may want him to have had the appearance where he's stripped down, he's kneeling down, and he is talking on the radio while he's talking about coordinates. The thing about painting figurines is that it is very, very relaxing. Because you need to take into consideration that you can repaint these if they get out of control, But really, how you paint them is up to you. If you wanted this guy to have an orange shirt with purple suspenders, well, you can do it because it's your figurine. He may not be appropriate for the diorama that you're putting him in, but just realize, just because you have a khaki colored belt and another guy has it that's a olive drab, it doesn't mean a thing. Most of these guys that were in World War II, they had certain colors they wore all the time, but look, stuff got worn. There were things that were matched. There were other different colors that were mixed in with it. So don't think that you're stuck to just one thing. So as you can see, we're doing pretty darn good. Now let's review really quickly. We got the MINIART, the Tamyia, and some Tamyia other items. As you can see, I kind of filled up the spaces to kind of give it, well, a story, right? We're looking for a story, we're telling a story, we're feeling it, we're doing whatever we want when we want. That's the military miniatures by Tamyia. I use a little bit of the snow, some dusting powder out of that B series from Tamyia's weathering kits, and I installed the LEDs. So let's go over LEDs.
So let's talk about
Now I got
lights.
two straight wires. They're going to poke through the bottom of my diorama that I have already built.
I just
seen.
They're
going to go through the bottom of that hole, and I'm going to solder on the LEDs that I choose. Started off with an orange one, but it wasn't quite what I was looking for, so I did add some lighter colors to it, twisted them all together, put them down inside that hole, ran the wires to the bottom of the foam like we talked about, soldered those onto a battery pack, and gave it life. Now as we move forward, you'll see that I just crammed all of that down inside of there, but I did use some of that floor wire above to kind of make a little bit of some pins to hold it into place. Now don't get impatient. Ready or not, here it comes, the big reveal on diorama with LED. I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy yourself in the hobby.